Major General G.D. Bakshi joining us on the phone line. Major General Bakshi, now we do know about Taliban continuing its military offensive across Afghanistan, but Afghanistan is also now constantly engaged in a war of words with its neighbor Pakistan. And if we go by these kind of videos, it's becoming increasingly clear that Pakistan army, one way or the other, is backing Taliban.
Please don't forget that when the Taliban first conquered Afghanistan, in the time of Mullah Omar, at that stage there were 11,000 Pakistani soldiers in plain clothes who were operating the tanks, who were operating the heavy artillery, who were operating the aircraft and helicopter gunships, and they were fighting a war in Afghanistan. And it is the Pakistani military intervention which had proved decisive in the Taliban scoring win after win there, because they had the firepower, the tanks of the Pakistan army to back them up. And when, the 9/11 happened and Richard Armitage wanted to bomb Afghanistan back to the Stone Age, that is the time Pakistan cried, let us get our troops out from there. So they were given time by the Americans, okay, bloody well fly your troops out from there. So they made an airlift and they airlifted all the troops and heavy equipment from inside Afghanistan. They are doing just the same now. About 10,000 people, we were told, had entered, Afghanistan under the guise of the Lashkar-e-Toiba, Jaish-e-Mohammed cartoon network. They're all Pakistani soldiers in civil clothes who are fighting on behalf of the Taliban. And then in Spin Boldak, they unfurled the Taliban flag. Alongside with it, they unfurled the Pakistani flag on Afghan soil. This is an insult. What the hell does Pakistan think it is? Who has given it the right to overthrow a legitimately elected government in Kabul? That is a legitimate government, elected government, unlike the government of Pakistan, which is a selected government by the army. So the fact of the matter is, Pakistan has no right, no business to overthrow legitimately elected governments in other countries and impose its own bunch of terrorists and warlords and bloodthirsty fighters who will beat up women, whip women, kill women with stones and all that kind of stuff. I mean, this is amazing. And the fact of the matter is that initially, the Afghan National Army, everybody is writing the Afghan National Army off. And they are saying the Taliban has already won. It hasn't won as yet. For the last almost 3 to 4 years, it is the Afghan army which has been fighting with just air support being provided by the Americans. The Americans were not doing the fighting in the last few years. It's all the Afghan army which has been holding. And it is just that they were denied the sudden air support from the Americans, which also the Americans have resumed. So the Afghan army had adopted a policy of holding the major towns and cities and letting go of the outlying areas. So the Taliban swiftly moved into these outlying areas, and they thought they would besiege Kabul and other towns and cities, starve the citizens of those areas by sitting on the supply lines with Pakistan and with Tajikistan and Uzbekistan. So they have tried to capture the border areas. But I'm given to understand that the Afghan National Army is now launching counterattacks, spirited counterattacks. So don't write off the Afghan National Army. And the fact of the matter is that if, let us say, the situation gets grim, even in that case, my personal advice is India should go to the UN Security Council. The United States should tell the Security Council to deploy a UN peacekeeping force there to separate the Taliban and the Afghan National Army and ensure that a peaceful transition of government takes place. If at all a government has to be selected, it should be by the will of the Afghan people. Let elections take place. Let Taliban take part in elections. It can't kill women and try and come and become the champion of the military owner of Afghanistan. That will not be tolerated by the rest of the international community. Pakistan cannot enforce the law of the jungle and the 7th century time war, push the world back into the 7th century AD.
Oh, yes. Major General G.D. Bakshi, thank you for speaking to us and sharing that.